Hello, welcome to another Warcraft 3 Reforged video. Yeah, there's more stuff to react to, respond to, review, take a look at. This time we're going to be taking a look at a lot of artwork. Basically, it's the models in a different sort of form, some we haven't seen before, so stay tuned for this. It is from Hive Workshop. Then we have a link to look at the Warcraft 3 Reforged models. By the way, if you enjoy this content, make sure to thumbs up the video, it just helps out a lot. Thank you very much, and enjoy. As I'm going to go through basically what we're seeing over here. You can see there's quite a lot to go through, so I'm going to be talking quite quickly, because this is going to go on for a while. So we're going to be very fast. So let's get the brief look. I'm going to take a look at each model for at least 5 seconds, so at least you can pause the video if you need to. And it's basically a still shot of the character, showing off basically an aspect of its personality. Bear in mind that none of this stuff is polished or perfectly finished yet. It is all still work in progress because this is essentially not even officially released on the beta, so you know they're not quite definitely done, but you can get the idea of what you're looking at or what they're trying to go for conceptually. With that said and done, we're starting off with the Hydra here. This is basically the big Kingpin Hydra. He's got insane health regeneration and he looks like a beast. It's kind of like a kind of blocky feel to these, which is fine, I guess. They almost look like they need to look a bit smoother. Although they do look quite funny when they move around, the Hydras. And he obviously shows that he's the king because he's got the two giant horns. But it just looks a bit strange for me because it almost looks a bit too dragon-esque. I feel like the Hydra should look without the horns. And, I mean, he's got like double horns going on here. Triple horn in a way. Moving on, we have the Sasquatch. Your boy, the ancient Sasquatch. He is beefy. He's very similar to the World of Warcraft model. In fact, it probably is ported from World of Warcraft in many ways. It's a really cool looking version of a Yeti. I really like this one because it's just so beastly. I mean, that could play as a custom hero. You could totally imagine using that in a hero defense. Didn't we see those already? Some of these you've seen, some of those you haven't. So I'm probably going to be quicker on the ones that we have seen because, as you know, if you've been following this YouTube channel, you might have seen some of these videos that I've created where I've been responding and reacting to the videos and pictures and artwork that we've been essentially allowed to see thanks to the data mining. So that's Wendigo. We got ourselves a cheeky little arachnid. He's an earth borer. So some of these ones, I'm just going to basically click through until we can get to the stuff that we haven't necessarily seen yet. But you're just going to get an idea. It's more for the design. So that's the Warden in a T-pose. So not quite utilizing the whip yet. That's your boy Azure Dragon. Very gorgeous. Not so gorgeous baby. A bit of developing to do there. Ah, a bit more cuter, that Drake. The bandits are really cool. I like how they're also flavoursome. They are so almost really Viking-esque, though. Ah, there we go. I did it. We should do some sort of like, what is it called? It's the bingo. Witty bingo. When he sort of says certain words. Like esque or istic at the end of a word. And I managed to go there already. Bandit Rogue. Look how cool. You could play... That's like a model in like an actual... I mean... I'm thinking now for custom games, RPG, like third person, slightly behind the character. You could imagine actually leveling and playing as this character and maybe being able to swap his weapons as he upgrades, because this is what you can do in Warcraft. I don't know if you can definitely do this in Reforged, how they're going to work it with the models. I'm sure people will find a way, but people have been able to change the shield. When you equip a shield into your inventory, your shield changes or your weapon changes. So things like that is hopefully possible, because you could imagine totally starting off with this character and helping out a village and then going from there into the city and dealing with a big dragon at the end of it or something. So these guys are very nasty. They love to just chuck those envenomed spears. Do not like those. The banshees are very ethereal, which I guess is how they kind of should look. They're almost quite beautiful in a way. That's Sylvanas, isn't it? That Banshee Ranger is basically the original name for the Dark Ranger. So that is definitely the Dark Ranger. That's the Tavern hero, basically, version. Now, This is the Beastmaster, so this is what we should theoretically get from the tavern. It's obviously a very different look on Rexxar, and I have to assume it's Rexxar's body as well, although he looks a bit thicker than Rexxar. So that sort of suits the look a bit better. He's got... I'm not sure if he should have so many skulls. I mean, yeah, he's a bit tribal, but isn't he supposed to be kind of, you know, for the animals? So I don't know if he'd really want to be rolling around with animal skulls on his shoulder pads. Wild King is very unusual to me because I'm so used to the puffier, fatter looking one, but these ones are very cool and unique in their own ways, so I think it's a cool model. He looks well derpy, doesn't he? Hey, hello guys! Deathwing here. That's not really Deathwing, that's just a black dragon, but... Oh, that's kind of cute. And he looks slightly derpy and not quite there. There's your Blood Elf sort of worker. I say Blood Elf, it's High Elf really, but I sometimes get them sort of interchanged. This guy is a Blood Wizard? I don't think we've seen this one before. Essentially, he's like another take on... He's got to be a new model, I think. I don't remember any character in the Warcraft 3 files being called Blood Wizard. He's like the brigands and stuff like these. You know, he supports these kind of guys, the wizards that have turned a little bit evil. Or weren't allowed into Dalaran, so they had to make ends meet. He looks weird with that skull cap on. Not so sure about that. But I like the little sort of pouch of gold. Let's do the next line, because there's a lot to go through, so I am going to be quick. I will slow down, though, if I see any models we haven't seen before. So don't worry about that. This guy looks really cool. We haven't really seen this guy up close like this, but this is a bristleback. We have seen some Quillbore models, but they're getting their own flavour as well, much like the Gnolls. A little bit more simplified, although I like the changes. It's almost like the war paint around his eyes, and obviously the tusks shoulder pad. So that looks definitely different in its own way, but still has the same sort of look. You know what you're fighting against. Bronze dragons look pretty incredible, really. I mean, yeah, that guy not so well. Hey, I like this guy. He looks like he's up for anything. Hey, Tom, you want to go out tonight? Oh, where do you want to go? I don't know. I just felt like going for a pool or something down the pub. Yeah, sure, let's go. You know, just grab the keys and go. Alright, there's Broodmother. These spiders look kind of cool because they're very vibrant, and I like that. They stand out a lot more than the original spiders, which are kind of dull and dark in a lot of colours. The Burning Archer is pretty good. It's a little getting used to because the original ones look so cartoony, whereas these have got far more of a realistic skull. So it's just a case of getting used to them. I like the take on the centaur. I like how they just make them so different. Like they're similar to World of Warcraft. You fight first, it's like sorcerer type centaurs in World of Warcraft, and they're female. So you definitely didn't have these, or at least I don't. I mean, maybe they're female, but you can't really tell, you know? These you can definitely tell they're female. Look at the Centaur Khan. Yeeks. So a huge emblem on the front. And there's the Centaur Outrunner. So he's more of a scout type character. Sorcerer over here. And here's a Chaos Warlock green. Very heavily armoured the Warlocks are, as opposed to their sort of original. I'm not sure exactly what that is, because he's already holding a weapon. That's the shield, actually, isn't it? Okay, that's a shield. Next lot looks like some pandas, treant trolls, and a wolf. So this is a chaplain, kind of... He's got the cool Taras symbol, I think. So perhaps he's going to be part of the campaign. Maybe the bonus campaign with Rexxar, and maybe he tries to... He could be that bit where he tries to talk to you, but then ambushes you or something like that. I don't know. Chen Stormstout. This is actually Chen Stormstout. Oh, he's Stormform. Yeah. And then that's actually Chen Stormstout. He looks too serious, though. He doesn't have that really sort of cute, sort of cuddly look that he has in the original Warcraft 3. But I love the Earth form. I think that weapon is freaking amazing. And the fire as well. So cool. Like, they really knocked it out of the park with his forms. At least in sort of Storm, Earth, and Fire. But the original one, I like the costume. I just wish he obviously wore the hat and looked a bit more approachable. Horrible looking treant. Not horrible in terms of like design. It's great. It's just obviously a file nasty thing, isn't it? The Dark Troll. So this is just one of the lower level ones. Probably a level 1 one or level 2. Kind of lower on the pecking order because he's quite skinny. And then you can see the Berserker. A bit more beefed out. Then you got the High Priest. A lot of the casters, one of the ways to sort of identify Warcraft casters is to just hunch them over. Have you noticed that? Oh, it's a caster. He should look like this. It's like the Virgin versus Shad meme or something like that. Like, he's just kind of like leaning over. Wow. This is a Shadow Priest, another version of it. But very different in the looks. They look well evil, the Dark Trolls, don't they? But obviously all the artwork and design, like the colours with the braids around the hair, just very vibrant, which is neat. And there's the Warlord. He's got a cool hairstyle. Vicious, bigger, beefier. Stands out a little bit more. Then we have a Defender Golem. Oh, so cool. This has got to be part of the Sunken Ruins. Is this when you go to like Sinishari and all that kind of stuff, you know, where Fash sort of homeland is, and Queen Ashara, the islands that have risen up, and you've got to go to the Tomb of Sargeras. He almost looks a little peaceful because of the logs that are part of him, but at the same time he's got these big old bulky sort of runistic feet. And the Frostwolf looks really cool. Obviously the feet haven't been completed yet, but it looks like a wolf. So I like it. It's got this kind of cool design to it. It's not sort of like hyper realistic. It's got like a kind of squelched in feel to it. So there's a dire wolf. Very similar to the original model because the back sort of goes really high. The hair just is everywhere. This is a Draenei Demolisher, so basically their siege weapon. I don't think it's completely finished yet. They've actually got like a kind of crystal to form a spike as part of the wheels and the boulder, so different enough from the other type of siege machines to serve its own purpose. Oh my goodness, I don't think we've seen this one before. Dragon Sea Turtle. That's the big boy, isn't it? Yikes. I mean, I don't think that's finished yet. There's so much detail going on that this is the slight thing. Obviously it's not finished, but the slight thing I'm concerned about is when there's too much detail and then it almost just looks like a kind of weird painting that's just got too many specks of different colours of paint all over it, that it actually sort of makes it hard to identify what it actually is. Like, what am I actually... Is this the eye? Is that the eye ridge? Or is nose a snout? Or is that part of the nose? I don't know. You know? It doesn't look anywhere near as cute as the original Turtles. Okay. Cool. Another new one. So this is the ranged one. And he's got, like, webbing. I wonder if that's inspired by Jurassic Park. You know, there's those... They look like raptors, but then when they're going to attack, the web comes out the side of their faces, and they start to spit venom. So it's kind of what it kind of reminds me a little bit of, as to sort of indicate that he's a ranged type turtle, and it gives him a little bit of different personality from the other ones. The dragon spawns, I'm still not sure whether I get behind their faces, but I guess the body makes sense. It's just the faces are almost a little bit too elongated. I like this guy though. I think he looks kind of cool. I think the green, gold and white armor set is beautiful with some purple drapes. Again, the Earth Panda. Just freaking amazing weapon. It reminds me of something I'd have in Dark Souls, to be honest. Okay. So that's the Elder Hydra. See, that one looks a bit more Hydra-esque, but they've still got all the horns going on. I don't know if they definitely need that, but I guess it's just a way to differentiate between the different types. Because there's a real lower form type, then there's the one that kind of spits poison, then there's the bigger, sort of more caster type one. I think he might do Fairy Fire, and then you've got the huge one that's just ridiculous. There's War Stomp, and he's like almost impossible to kill. He's got 1600 health or something stupid. Right, we've seen the Jungle Beasts. Fantastic models, no complaints there. The Void Walker looks a bit too gelish, much like the Water Elementals. but I guess that's just what they're going for, or the art design they currently have. I don't think he's finished though, but has a kind of mean face to indicate that it is still a demon. And then there's the Wendigo. So we're getting there, guys. We're doing alright. We've done that line. Let's move on to the next bunch. Going to be taking a look at some more trolls and some fellstalkers and maybe a little bit of the forgotten one. There's the emissary for the blood elves, or the high elf. Again, I keep mixing them up. He's got like green eyes, so you'd think it's the blood elf. Wow. I really like the costume design. It's a little bit busy, but he's an emissary, so they're supposed to sort of look a bit flashy and impressive to represent their faction. Oh, that's a bigger looking bog monster, no doubt. Probably the Kingpin bog monster, I would think, unless there's an even bigger one than that. Okay, so this is a Wild King that doesn't look quite as flashy as the previous ones. So they got different variations of the Wild King, but they've all got very similar look. So whilst the Wild King model is cool, there's not really as much personality with them spread out amongst the different types, as opposed to like the gnolls or the kobolds and all that. Thank you very much, Snuz, there for the sub. Faceless one, looking very actually like a guard with that pose. His tentacles are wrapped around this vicious looking Anchorage style weapon. He's got the squid-like features. So he does have a face. You can see the eyes. And that's the thing. Like, you call them faceless ones. They're not truly faceless. That's what you need to see. Pretty cool. Maybe the legs are a little bit too humanoid. I don't know if those need to be a bit more squid-like, like his arm is. Feel free to write a comment down. Let me know what you think, because I appreciate reading your comments, any of your feedback on any of the characters I'm looking at right now. So this is a vicious-looking creature. Very deadly. I'm starting to get more behind the skinnier look of it, because it's almost like a scavenger type creature, where it's you know Riddick. I actually really quite like the third Riddick film. You know, like the hyena type dogs. They're very sort of skinny, but you can imagine they're incredibly strong and vicious as well at the same time, because they're just about getting by, surviving on the scraps that are on the world itself. So they just hunt around, and from the lore perspective, if they suck on, you know, a mana creature, a creature that has heavy mana or power in that sense, they'll grow bigger, and they'll even, you know, expand and all that kind of stuff. So you could almost imagine there being something there that allows them to sort of beef up a little bit. So I quite like it. I think I'm getting behind them more than when I originally saw them. That one is just... Oh, that's what it reminded me of. Has anyone seen the film Annihilation? Didn't really like the film very much, but it was almost worth watching just for the bear scene. That thing wouldn't have as much of an impact if I just linked it to you and you just took a look at it. It's really cool, but you need the build-up for it. And, oh, that thing gave me, like, nightmares for ages. I haven't really been scared of anything much in my life, especially in the later years of it. But I remember that definitely, yeah. How? Yeah, that was mega creepy. And that's what it reminds me of. It's the same sort of skull, like almost eyeless sockets. It's just, ugh, goodness. Go, I say go watch that film. It's not really a great film. I didn't really enjoy it that much. I thought it was a bit depressing, a bit long. But that scene itself just makes it so good. I mean, you could basically stop about an hour or so into it, because it kind of happens around that point. Anyway, back onto another variation of the Fire Panda Brewmaster. So this is his fire form. I don't mind it. The hands look a bit odd, but I like the sort of fiery skin tone that he has. And the weapons themselves look pretty cool. Maybe if they get a fiery glow. Post Sweet, thank you very much there as well for the sub. So the forest trolls are really vibrant in colour. I do feel like they look a bit too sickly. Whether they should look more of their kind of darker green that they have in Warcraft 3 is debatable. But I like it. I like the vibrancy. It reminds me a little bit more of Warcraft 2, so I'm okay with it. Just got a kind of paleness to them that almost makes them look like they're all ill, or they've got some sort of plague. And that's the Trapper. There's the Warlord. Lovely giant barricade spikes at the back and a huge mohawk. White and orange. And this is the Forgotten One. Which looks really cute in a way. At least like that it does. With its sort of claws and mandibles are closed. It looks kind of like a plushie toy. But it is kind of freaky. Its eyes move in different directions. It's just got teeth everywhere. And you wouldn't want to get sort of like chomped up by that part because that's game over then. Alright, let's take a look at the next section. We're going to take a look at Furbolgs, Pandaren. I can't tell if I accidentally clicked wrong, so I'll just double check and do that. And some not trogs, gnolls. Furbolgs looking on point. They definitely look like bear type creatures. So they're more humanoid type bears. Tribalistic. This guy is really cool. I love the hood type, but his fur and his hump is so big that you actually have to sort of like have an opening for the hood. It's like that's almost where his head should be in a way, but they're obviously so hunched over. And then that's like the Pandaren model. I can't remember where you could really come across this thing. It's probably in the very original Reign of Chaos. And then that's another version, the Shaman. And then you've got the Tracker, which is cool. That gives a Hunter 5. He's got like this green, forest green. Ah, look at the Warrior. Is he missing an eye? It almost looks like he's missing an eye. Then we got more Woof. And then there's the Polar Bear, which looks odd. Because much like the bear that comes from Rexar, which I actually really like, because it looks like a pig. So it's actually kind of really cool for me. Even though it doesn't look that much like the original bear. It's one of the exceptions I'll make. This one looks more like the original bear, but just a little bit weirder. Like the face is like really massive. I think the original bears don't have quite so large noses that sort of go down and jaw that goes down. Ah, that dirt turtle looks a bit more cuter, but only just a bit more cuter. They got this really giant chin going on. Like, look how vicious and tough that must be. And those must be the Sunken Ruins type turtles then, because they got like a more color palette that seems to suit in with that. And this is like an autumn type Woof. Look at the gnolls. Look at their face. Everything about them. The ears, like just the detail, the colorization, and the hair just sort of... They look so good, the gnolls. I think they're one of the best models. Okay. Close tabs to the right. On to the next. Boom. More gnolls. Shredder. Then the goblin sappers into golems and dragons. Oh my goodness, what is going on with this guy? Is this an Illidan gnoll? I don't know what's going on there. It says it's a gnoll brute. He's got like little sort of dog chew toys on the side pauldrons. He's got like a cut across his chest. Really cool. Earring, of course, as well. Oh, wow. There's the Overseer. That looks almost a bit like the Warlord type one because it's got a kind of grey stone colour to it. But it's got a flail. It's just really beefy. Nice. That's the one that should actually be able to purge you. That's a Snarlmane? So I don't think that's actually a gnoll that's currently in the game unless they rename this model. So I don't know what type of one that is, but it almost looks like its own separate one. Oh, wow. Mr. Reddish, thank you very, very much for the 1,000 bits. It's very kind of you. I apologize because I have the notifications turned off when sort of recording the videos because I don't want them to be too distracted, at least for the YouTube purposes. But thank you very much, Mr. Reddish. This one is the Warden, sorry. So this is the one that does the purge. Yeah, that makes more sense because it looks more purpley. That theme's in better. The Overseer, I think, is the one I was thinking of. The Warlord, basically. I was getting mixed in with the Trolls there because the Troll Warlord is like the big guy and the Gnoll Overseer is the big guy of the Gnolls. So actually, yeah, I was wrong. It's the Gnoll Overseer. It's not a Warlord. So that's why he looked more like that. That's what I was saying. He looks more like that guy. So they're on point in terms of how they should look. There's some Shredder action. There's, is that a Goblin Landmine? It is, actually. I just looked at the text at the top there. If you're not sure, you got the text up here to let you know what the character is, which is very handy. He's like the nerdy one of the ones that are going to blow themselves up. He's the dumb one. He's the even dumber one, to be honest. I mean, wow. He looks like he can barely get out of bed. Right. That's a cool looking Zeppelin. It just represents the Zeppelin in so many aspects. I hope these are the player colors. So this is like silver. So it's very obvious that this belongs to the player silver. The golems are so good in this. So good. Okay. I might pull that back just a bit. I like the model, but I don't think it fits the original models. It should be like its own model, like a new golem. Do you see what I mean? I feel like the mud golem, the rock golem, and the granite golem should be updated to look more like the original. And the ones that we've got here should be bonus ones. I don't think these should replace the mud golem, rock golem. Because they look cool, but they don't look like, you know, what we're used to being against. They're way too sort of impressive and devastating. Oh, this guy looks vile, doesn't he? He looks like a faceless one version of the Voidwalkers. Yee! Green Dragon, look at the detail on this. Woo. They got like a real sort of aged, leathery skin. Much like a reptile. Okay, so we're going down. You're going to see some new characters and things popping up now. We've still got a long way to go, so I might have to be even quicker, to be honest. So I'm going to be a lot quicker here and just basically click through these now, pretty much. Green Dragon, the Drake, the cute bear that I kind of want a plushie of as well. Look how cute it is. It's a bear pig, basically. Oh, this is so cool. These golems are amazing. I love the look of them. So cool. There's the harpies. Beautiful, but absolutely deadly. And there's the Fire Lord, who looks absolutely vile from the front. Like just a giant fiery skull. That looks almost a little bit too realistic. It's kind of yeeks. The whole over-the-top shoulder pads and stuff is something you're just going to have to get used to. But it does kind of fit in more with how they've been trying to go with these elemental looks. Like, just to sort of give them more than just their actual sort of fiery skin, so to speak. He's got these magma-type horns, which are kind of cool. This is supposed to be a mook, from what I've been told, which is the characters that are sort of like subservient to the goblins in World of Warcraft. They were introduced in Cataclysm, I believe. I'm familiar with them because I played in that zone. I just don't really like it. Like, I think they should be riding the actual ogre, to be honest, or at least make the mook look like the original Warcraft 3. I don't really like it, to be honest. It's probably one of the models I actually least like. The Tinker is one of my favorite heroes. I just think this thing obviously needs a lot of work to represent the original and how cool it really was and how cheeky it was as well at the same time. That's a Pocket Factory. That's another Pocket Factory. So the actual thing is the original Pocket Factories just grew in size to differentiate them, but the new Reforged ones are actually going to have more detail to them. So they might be the same size, almost, but they're going to have sort of different features. So that is an interesting take. Now we're going to take a look at some more clockwork stuff, some ships, hydras, and trolls. So that's the third level of Pocket Factory. Looks like a little workshop. There's the Tinker again. Oh, this is Gazlowe. I was going to say, because it's like a different model of it. That's more Gazlowe-ish because of the actual sort of robotic face at the top there. And look at that face. He helps out Thrall and some of the earlier versions of Warcraft. That's a funny looking Tinker robot. I really like the archers. I think this color scheme is much more like how Savannah should look. Maybe it's a little bit too bright, but I'd much rather it be bright and sort of approachable because it's more Alliance-like than the dark sort of tones that she currently has. She's got this kind of cute, sort of pale but sort of reddish skin, like a, you know, sort of like a blushed. The battleship, the frigate or human destroyer in this case. And there's a human mage, so that's like a low-level dude. Human transport ship, looking good. Oh my goodness, that Hydra. That's more like it. So less with the horns, even though they've kind of got these horns growing out the side, and more with like the webbing. And then that's a little one, a little baby hatchling. Hydromancer, he's quite nasty, casts water elemental and stuff like that. Ice trolls, they look kind of spot on. They remind me a little bit of the Game of Thrones frozen bad guys. The whites, or whatever they're called. They're a kind of similar skin tone in a way. But it's cool. Walkers. There you go. The white walkers. Oh, we're going to get to see some trogs at the end. He looks absolutely... He's got like a Gul'dan vibe going on. He's got so much evil in that face. There's the Warlord. I really like the ice type characters because they've got like more kind of fur covering, which looks really good for me. I've always been into like Norse mythology and stuff like that. Greek mythology. I've been into a lot of mythology that's basically fantasy based, let's face it. Obviously the mythology was real because it's part of our history, but you know, these days it comes across as fantasy. So yeah, they look kind of like the God of War type characters. They're just super sort of big, strong, capable characters going out in the wild and sort of powering up and doing quests and stuff like that. They got like this kind of RPG/MMO feel to them. So the frozen type ones, this goes for the Furbolgs, this goes for the trolls. They just look really incredible. Infernal Cannon. So this dude has like a breath of fire and things like that. It really looks good actually. I love the design. It looks like a kind of like a modified car, just to look as evil as possible. And that is kind of the Burning Legion. So this one's really vicious. I think this is another... This might be the one that actually does Breath of Fire. This one just does like normal little attacks. Oh, thank you Death Knight as much for the sub. What have you got for us today? Well, currently at the moment, I'm just recording a video for YouTube. Thank you very much everyone at YouTube watching. Make sure to thumbs up. And come check me out at Twitch, twitch.tv/Witty, WTII, Witty, on Twitch. Yeah, this is looking really cool. We got more of the Iron Golem. So this is another name for the Shredder, basically. It could be that it's a campaign model as well, because I think there was supposed to be a bonus Shredder type model for the campaign, but I don't know if it ever went through. Jailer Kassan. I think he's just a new model, a new character, because I don't remember him in the original campaign. But he could have been in the original campaign. Like one of the bandit type lords that you have to defeat in Reign of Chaos or something, but I can't quite remember off the top of my head. This is Janala, basically the most Disney-fied character that we currently have in the Warcraft roster. I actually quite like the look of her, but this is about as Disney as it gets. Now we got the Jungle Beast. These just look incredible. There's the kobolds. So we've seen a slightly newer version of these, I feel, or at least in-game. They don't look quite as hideous, but they still look monstrous, as they are kind of supposed to look, but they've got this kind of cute personality because they're jumping about and spreading their legs and all this kind of stuff. He looks quite derpy. I actually really quite like the kobolds. They look even better in-game. So we've gone through the kobolds, moving on to some Macrora, I think Garifos, and I'll just double check that one. Lava Spawn is weird. It's like Deathwing with gangly long arms. I think this is obviously work in progress. I think it needs to look a lot skinnier, a lot less threatening face-wise, because it looks more threatening than the actual Lord, Fire Lord himself. That is a beefy as F Voidwalker. That's a very tired, old-looking, tribalistic, what are they called? Lightning Lizard. And then we've got the Macrora, which are pretty awesome. You got different sort of types, because you can see like this is sort of like the more hunched over, smaller, lower to the ground version. This is the more beefy, upright, war type version. There's Garifos. So we've seen this model. Garifos, I really like that he basically looks like a kind of chubby general that got to power, not really deserving it, but more from his birthright. And he sort of just has his own personality of not being told no, because he never got sort of taught very well as a kid and grew up to be just an asshole his whole life. There's the Magnetor. I think these guys look pretty damn incredible. I think they still got some work to do with the animations in terms of how they maneuver on the battlefield and look a little bit less glidey and floaty, but they look cool. And then there's almost too much detail going on these Macrora, but yeah, They're pretty hideous. And I kind of like these. They're so stubby. His back legs are almost as close as his front legs. Like, there's probably just inches apart from them. They're incredibly stubby elephants. It's kind of hilarious. Right. On to the next. We're going to get some bigger mammoths. I think some man-bear pigs. I think the mud golem and some Murgles. Yep. Really cool. Nice. Differentiation. The horns and tusks are different, so it gives them a lot of different look. Just by changing the horn makes the model itself look completely different in many ways. The slight different color, just emphasizing the size of the ear. Even though the ears are the same size, that makes this model look so much different to this one. But obviously it is the same model. Okay. And then you got Medivh, looking a little bit more youthful here, despite the grey beard. So I don't think there is a version of him with a brown beard, although I'm pretty sure in Reign of Chaos he might have had the brown beard. Just looks awesome, like a traveler type character. He's mega powerful, like mega powerful, but he's at the same time so down to earth and so sort of just, you know, he's sort of grown and learnt to not be an arsehole, basically. He's basically, because he was arrogant when he was younger, but he kind of, unlike Garathos, he actually learnt to sort of grow up. There's the raven form of him. Oh, look at it. He's so sad. So good. Oh, they all look kind of depressed. I really like it. I know this sounds bad, but I do like them. And that looks like a monster lore, which is interesting. There's the mud golem. At least this one looks more like the mud golem than the freaking granite golem does. To the actual Warcraft 3 granite golem. So that is Murgle. So more corals. Coral. We still got quite a long way to go, so I think I might have to be even quicker. So let's really blast through these, because otherwise this video is going to end up being hours long. And I'm trying to avoid that if I can. We'll just get a good look. So more Murgle. More Murgle. That's the worker one. That looks like a spellcaster type one. Warrior. Just a basic Murloc. Murloc Flesh Eater. So these ones live in like the swamps. I love the sword sticking out. They're just vicious. They're almost zombie-like. The Rubians are really different. So this is making me wonder, right? Are the Crypt Fiends gonna look like this? Because they have to, right? I was thinking about this last night, because obviously that's what I think about. I'm a nerd. But when I'm trying to sleep, I'm thinking about, well, if the Nerubians look like this, doesn't that mean Crypt Fiends are basically going to look like this? They might have like a different face and slight difference to upper body, but essentially they're going to have like the same leg structure, because these are Nerubians. Okay. More cool looking Nerubians, Nether Dragons, Catapults, Boat, and then Ogres, which I'm not really quite sold on the Ogres. I love the look of the different Nerubians as well. Oh, that's kind of hideous. They're like hideous forms of shark dragons, aren't they? That's a cool looking original catapult. I feel like these guys are just... they're too stretched. Maybe it's the neck. They need to be more dopey looking, so the head needs to be closer to the body. Because the more elongated the neck is, the more sort of, how would you say, not intelligent as such, but I don't know. They look too, they don't look as dopey when their heads are stretched so far away from their bodies. Elegant, yeah, they're more elegant, which is not what ogres should look like at all. They should not look elegant at all. Please, just warp this down. Just pull the head down. Pull that head down. Make them slightly fatter, because they're not even really fat. He's still got like a V shape going on. Their belly should really be coming out over the sides. But they're just too... they don't look like ogres to me. They look like a cross between a centaur and an ogre. So you know, like Rexar's a cross between an ogre and an orc, so he doesn't kind of look like either of them. He's got his own unique look. They look like something between an orc sorry, an ogre and a centaur without the back legs. Like, they just don't... They don't look like ogres to me. I don't think they're going to change much, the model, though. I think it's a bit late at this point, but personally, I'm not the huge fan of them. They don't look right. They look too tall. I know ogres are supposed to be massive, but they should be massive in terms of sort of width and height, not sort of in sense of just... I mean, they are wide. He is wide and tall, but it just doesn't do it for me for some reason. They just don't work for me. Okay, thank you very much, Dropkick Alien. Let me take a lozenge, because I've still got a bit of a sore throat, so talking a lot doesn't always do it the world of wonder, but at the same time, there's videos to be made. Yes. 5-second rule. That's not good. Normally I wouldn't, but these are quite expensive, so there's no point wasting those. Okay. This is Orcish Destroyer. Really cool looking vehicle. That's the transport ship. That's similar to the Warcraft 2 cinematic. That looks like a warlock to me. Very much reminds me of Gul'dan. I really like their face. I think they got a lot of personality in their face. There's the owlbear again. He looks really approachable, that one. He looks like a cool guy. He's like the one of all the owlbears, or the Wild King, that's not going to kill you. There's the Pandaren Brewmaster. Got a chain-style barrel weapon. Treant. Another bit of the old polar bear action. There's the Furbolgs, the sort of winter-type ones. And I love, like, I mean, look at this armor. It's just, oh. It's so good, the winter-type sets. So good. Right. So we've done that. Got some pigs. Got a pig bear. More pigs. Some dragons. Oh my goodness. His head would just fall over, wouldn't it? It'd just be so top heavy. Be like, boom. It's like a bobblehead. That's crazy. That'll do, pig. That'll do. Oh, even the evil looking one that's raging still looks sad and depressed. Don't change it, by the way. I like the look of them. Razormane. So these are the Quillboar type characters. Really cool. This one in particular. The banner on the back. This one is the effeminate one because he's wearing a pink t-shirt, so he's brave enough to do that. He's either very brave alpha male or openly gay. Then we got the red dragon, just looking fierce and beastly in that face. I mean, that looks incredible, the portrait as well. Ah, oh, that's way cuter. Now we're moving on to some revenants. A lot of revenants by the looks of it. There's a red drake. The water elemental looking a bit more watery here because you can almost feel like the water is draping down over his skin. But people are still concerned that it looks a bit too gel-like. Particularly on the head, I would suppose. Renegade wizard. More evil wizards. That shield, though. Yikes. That's bigger than his mace. And this is like the Death Scythe. That's very reminiscent of Heroes of Might and Magic 5 armor. Like, let me just do this quickly. Magic 5 OST. Let's see if we can just pop this up. So I'm not going to play this. Look at that. You can't quite see it. It's not a very hugely detailed model, but it's like kind of extravagant. Over the top. It's not exactly the same because there's different types, but there's this kind of, I don't know, this over the top armor feel to them, and I quite like it in a way. That one's really cool. Oh wow, that's probably the one that does Death Coil and Animate Dead. Look at that. Oh, I like the kind of flesh textures and green draping. Very nice. Okay, that's the rock golem. So they look almost a bit too humanoid and man-like instead of rock-like as they originally did. Obviously they are big rocks, but they almost look like they're a human turned into a rock monster from some weird freak experiment, and they've got too much intelligence. whereas the original ones look a bit more dopey and more sort of lower on the IQ scale. This guy looks really cool. I like sort of like the teal and the red. Just somehow works. Okay. Some Yetis or Sasquatches, and then Satyrs, some of my favourite characters. There's a salamander. There's the baby looking salamander. Wow, look at the horns on this guy. Saffron, that's why. So that differentiates him a little bit from the other Azure dragons. Yeti or Sasquatches, sorry. Very cool. And then there's the Satyrs. Basically the evil night elves. Particularly this one. I mean, that face doesn't say anything good, does it? And then you got like this kind of really good looking satyr that's a female. Now, why is the female suddenly like super good looking? That one has like a female face. I thought it was a female, and then I caught it like, you kind of forgetting that it actually has a giant beard, so it's probably not a female. But she has that's a very feminine face. There's a trickster. There's the gel monster. Sea giants are really cool. They look more like ogres. They got like the bigger belly, but they're still big and strong. So I think the sea giants are closer reminiscence of the ogres than actual ogres are now. More sea giants, skeletons, monsters, spiders. Look at the shark helmet. That can't be comfortable. He's got the spikes digging into his skull. Yikes. Ceranox. Another bonus dragon. Sea turtle. Oh, those golems are so cool, man. They're so cool. Skeletons are super hyper realistic. At least the orc ones look a bit more cartoony and more in flavour of the originals. Sludge monsters are hideous, but basically they're supposed to be. Yikes. That's like the alien. Then you got the spiders, very vibrant in colour. And the crabs are really cool. They're very decorative. More crabs. Bear pig. Fell hunters. And some orcs. So I lied when I said I was going to spend 5 seconds on each picture. It's going to be more like 1 to 2 seconds. Unless I really want to sort of point out one of the particular things about it. Like, this character's really cool. That's a Storm Reaver Apprentice. That's the lower level. But he's still got completely different armor set to the other orcs. So that's really neat. See, this guy's got completely different weapons. More draping. That's a Storm Reaver Hermit. And then that's like a beefier looking caster. More of a war type one. So I really like those. I don't feel like I focused on the bear pig enough, so I'm just going to do that now. There we go. I got my fix. Stormworm. Wow. Okay, Sylvanas Windrider looking a lot brighter here. I said that I wanted her to look brighter. Maybe I never really picked up on it. It just sort of stands out more here. The brown, obviously, is more to fit in with the environment. The same with the cape. But personally, I'd rather forego that and give her more of a lighter yellow than a brown texture. So if that could be brightened up to more of a yellow. Yes, yes, she's a ranger. Yes, yes, she's trying to blend into the forest. It's a video game, okay? I think you want to make Sylvanas as sort of friendly and as approachable as possible. So, because this is before she turns evil. And when she turns evil, she turns evil. So Farafas, wow, the bonus one. That's the Thunderhawk. I suppose that's what the Phoenix is going to look like. I mean, this should be Rexar's pet. But I could imagine the Phoenix being somewhat similar to this, judging by the pose of it. Okay. Thunder Lizard. Wow, look at that. He's a lord of the salamanders, I believe. If he's not, he's got a massive horn. Viziers, like the caster type one. That brown wolf's cool. The Tuskars often get forgotten, but Blizzard haven't forgotten about them. And they've given each one their sort of own individual garments and sort of flair and look, bushy beard, which gives them just as much personality as like the Gnolls have, which I'm very appreciative of. Some faceless ones, undead ships, Firelord, and golems. So really cool. I like the more squid form version. I think the legs don't actually fit the upper body. They look almost too dragon slash human-like. I feel they should fit in more with a kind of a loosey-goosey flesh-type squid you know, sea monster. They look too solid and stoic. They don't look as fleshy. But it's not a huge deal. Can I just say that looks incredible? Look at the sort of bones and just how this sort of cannons stick out. Those look incredible. The giant mouth just fiercely open, ready to attack. There's the transport ship. You know that's a transport ship. I don't even need to look at the text on that one. Void Walker. Oh, wow. Volcanus. So that's looking a bit more like the Firelord, to be honest, than the actual Firelord model. So is this the actual hero form? Is that why it is? Because you know a lot of the Tavern heroes don't actually, and the melee heroes now, don't actually look like Muradin. They don't actually look like the Archmage, Antonidas. The Beastmaster doesn't look like Rexar. I think this is what the actual Firelord Tavern hero in Warcraft 3 looks like. But you don't kind of get that version of it in the Tavern in Reforged. That's a really cool looking... well, that's a Warcraft 3 cart. I thought that looked a bit different. It's like the Siege Engine. There should be a dwarf riding this, but I don't see it at the moment. That Golem doing some robot dancing. There's a Watcher. Oh, he's got the fish-like light bulb at the front. More Murlocs. Wendigo. Now there's some new models. We're going to be looking at some critters. Yikes. Ah! Now that's one way to ride the wind. Serpent. Wow, that's zombie. That's like a different version of it. That looks more like a human villager that's been corrupted. I mean, he's been really corrupted at this stage. But that at least has more of a human... It looks like it actually has been a villager that's eaten the grain and, you know, not fared too well from it. Oh my god! Oh, they're foul. But I kind of like them. Not so attractive now, eh, Missy? Wow, that seagull. That's the albatross. That's the one that has a Karma's voice in some of the custom games we've played. He's like, I grant you my wisdom. And all that. Whilst an albatross is going like this and you're hearing a Karma's voice say, you have my wisdom. Oh, wow. The stag looks kind of good. Oh, the brown wolf. I'm not sure that's a brown wolf. That's a mastiff, isn't it? Ugly looking thing. Obviously not finished. Oh, the June worm. It's like a mini baby Hydralisk. He looks really vicious there. Why? Did they do that for fun? I don't think it's supposed to look like... I guess it kind of is supposed to burrow, so that's maybe why it's got the little hands. It's almost like the art designer got a bit carried away and just extended what the model was supposed to be. Yeah. I like that chicken. Very derpy. Very good. We've got more neutral creatures to take a gander at. I don't know if I missed one of these when I clicked. It felt like it didn't load up, so... There's the Easter Bunny. Very cute. I think it was this guy that didn't load up. Okay, another villager. There's the elf villager. Very beautiful. The Fellboar looks kind of similar to the World of Warcraft one. It looks horrendously ugly. There's the very happy looking sheep. The sheep in this game look so weird compared to the original. They obviously covered the eyes, which I don't actually quite like as much because... Hang on a second. Taking a gamble here. There you go. That's one of my videos. I can remember a lot of my screenshots. Yeah, I did go over his eyes with like fake ones, but I want them to look more like that, where they can show a bit more face expression. Which would you rather have? Would you rather have that one or that one? That one or that one? There's a frog. Wow, the original frog has about 2 pixels, so this is a huge improvement. Motion sense. Has you seen the elemental towers from the Frozen Throne minigame mission? They all look the same. I wonder how the players are going to play these custom maps using those towers. I think they're going to be differentiated. I'm not entirely sure. Oh, that's another Mastiff, but that looks like an actual pet one that would belong to sort of like a king or something. Hermit Crab. Looks really cool. More workers. What the hell? Are those subwoofers? He's like got boom blasters on the back. You know how like some people carry those sort of like he's just sort of like pumping out the bass. Those are either massive ears or they're subwoofers, and he just basically drops the bass. He's like, so he kind of gives himself away a little bit. He just loves it so much. Sonic Hydra, yeah. That's a Juggernaut. They went for a kind of cool look, but I prefer the original. But it's still kind of neat. Pack Mule is fantastic. The chest, the bundles, the barrel of ale. And it's got like the iPads. There's a penguin looking adorable. It's got very humanistic eyes. Oh my god, there's a pig! There's a pig! Oh, that is a pig. He's so big. Is that pig? Oh my god. Okay. Let's look at raccoon now. More critters. We've got a little seal to look at. So some of these we definitely haven't seen. Raccoon. Oh, that rat looks really cool. Because it's got a lot of personality. It's like an evil mustachio rat. It could be like twirling its mustache. Ah, that seal's adorable. People are going to feel more guilty for killing that now. There's the sheep. There's a newt. That's the skink. Definitely looks more like a little dragon now, as opposed to the original, more basic version. That's like a Komodo dragon type thing, with really over-the-top webbing. Snowy owl looks really cool. I like that one. Very sort of a lot of personality in a very basic face. Oh my goodness, look at the spider crab. Sort of like looking up, trying to poke you. Oh, there's the kids. I'm 4. Different looks to them as well. He's got like the shaved on the side. Hey, the villager man looks awesome. He looks very similar to the original actually. Or one of the versions. I think he doesn't look exactly like him, but he's got the kind of same sort of face structure, like a bigger, thicker face, like some of the humanoids do in the Warcraft universe. This guy looks more like those kind of Kultiras type villagers in like World of Warcraft BFA, like the bigger. I don't know what they're properly called, but they're sort of like a bigger build. He's obviously like a worker type guy. Not Romanian. She is pretty awesome looking. She looks like she's sort of like a barmaid or something. There's a vulture. Hideous looking thing, but for good reasons. Oh my god. I never kind of got used to this version of Blizzard Surglings. I think the originals always did have like hands at the top, but I never used to see it. So it's always thrown me off when I kind of see hands sticking at the top of them. Cho'Gath. Yeah, this is Cho'Gath. That's an incredible looking model. Man, that's a cool agility hero is what that is. Right. We've still got lots more to go through, so let's carry on this train. Because I've got another really cool video to make after this one, where I'm going to take a look at all the icons, and they are gorgeous. So stay tuned. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Thumbs up the video if you enjoy this content. Really does help out a lot. There's loads more Warcraft 3 content. Trust me, I've got loads of bloody videos I'm making. Right. That is a very vicious looking Naga. At least this one looks like they got a lot more personality. So I was complaining that the Sea Witch... Oh no, this is the... Yeah, the Sea Witch looks a little bit manly, the face, but that's fine. As long as it's got personality to it, that's fine. So the tavern version of the Sea Witch is really good. It's the Lady Fash one that I just don't like. I don't think it's finished, that's what it is. She's more beautiful, which is maybe what they were intended to go for, aka a little bit more like Ashara, one of the prettier looking Nagas. But there's no real personality. She needs more scales. But then again, obviously could be work in progress. Naga Myrmidons, they are definitely thinner, which gives them more of a snake-like look. They're nowhere near as big and bulky as the originals, which I prefer the originals because they looked intimidating as all hell. This guy obviously has the intimidation factor because of the amount of spikes sticking out of him and the regal armor plating. So it kind of works for him, despite not being as big. But it really shows off in this guy. Not being as big as intimidating and hunched over. Wow. Naga Siren looking very beautiful. But that face still gives personality because it's sort of like the fierceness in the eyes. Sort of like deadpan looking you forward. Just almost seeing through you in a way. She wants to kill you. This one looks a bit more mystical. So those work for me. She actually looks like she's got a bigger weapon than Manaroth does. I want Manaroth's weapon to be a lot bigger than it currently is. There's a Snapdragon who looks very beasty, very front heavy. There's the cute... I really hope they don't update his face portrait anymore. It's the cutest thing. It's the cutest thing in game. Now this is Anasterian Sunstrider. He looks really cool. He actually looks a little bit younger here from this angle. But he's essentially the father of Kael'thas. And it's really neat to see him in like a warrior type regalia. So he looks very regal, but at the same time he looks capable of holding his own. There's a Blood Elf Lieutenant. I like the look of those as well. Like I just like that they've got like little bits of armor here and there. And they've got their sword and shield, so you can sort of customize that maybe. There's the Blood Elf Wagon that you have to sort of escort. Dalaran Mutant. Sludge Monster. And the Diablo Cart. So, there you go. Don't expect to be able to play that in a melee game, though. Taking a look at some more models. These are the Draenei, are they? I don't think we've necessarily seen these very well up close. Very ritualistic. Very simplistic. They're very hooded. Akama looking amazing. Oh wow, look at those faces. I love the original Draenei's from the early days of World of Warcraft and Burning Crusade. Like, they looked horrific. I actually really wanted to play as one of them because I thought they just looked really cool. Very monstrous, but at the same time, lots of personality. And yeah, that's some awesome sort of tribal painting. He's got like a cut in his belly. They're sort of like, you know, not having the best time because they got affected by like the pox, I think it was. And it's kind of degenerated them a little bit. But they're still managing to get by despite making the best of it. Cool. They all look a little bit too similar, I think. There could be maybe a bit more work done to give them slightly different face structures. I know they kind of have to look like that because that's how the originals look. But they could look different rather than just purely reskinned. Now this is the Flesh Golem. I don't get this character. He's a Flesh Golem, but he just looks like he's from a different game. Obviously, he's incredibly different to the original Warcraft 3 Flesh Golem, which looks more like an Infernal. The original Infernal. It's okay. It's got lots of detail. It's got lots of effort put into it. The patchwork, like, I can appreciate everything that's been put into it. It's just too different and too weird to what I'm used to. So, it's probably a case of me having to get used to it. Here's the Archmage Ghost. Doesn't look very ghostly. There's a High Elf Archmage. So it's cool that they've given the High Elf, the Archmage, different iterations. Obviously, you've got like the bandit type ones as well. Sort of like that join the bandits you fight against as mercenaries, or can even hire as mercenaries. But I like that the High Elves are also getting in on this action. Ah, High Elf Runner. So that's kind of a bit more like the Sylvanas, kind of bright blue. Obviously has the brown palette. But I'd prefer the brown to be a little bit more yellowy. Make it slightly closer to gold, but not obviously as shiny as gold. Just, you know, just a little bit better than brown. Taking a look at some more. Got some vehicles and then some orcs. So, this is where Illidan cruises. This one's called the Illidan Wagon. That's funny. Was this going to be in the campaign then? How weird. Isn't that like the crystal that he gets captured in at the end of Burning Crusade, essentially? After it kind of got retconned in Legion. Like, Warden carries... Maiev sort of captures him or puts his body in the crystal. Unless that's part of something else that I just don't remember from the campaign. There's our Disney character. There's Admiral Proudmoore. I really like this character. People said that they had some issues with the face, but I like it. There's no other humans that currently look like this, so fine with me. There's Rexxar. I'm getting a little bit more behind him. I still feel like he's kind of tall, a little bit like the actual ogres are. Maybe that's why they made him look this way. I want him to look thicker and chunkier. Like he's a beast. Literally a Beastmaster in the original game. Okay. Felorian Dawnseeker. I thought he looked a bit special. Looks like a higher level general of the High Elves. Very cool looking character. Could be a custom game in the Hero Defense. There's the vehicle. Looking very neat. Very beautiful. Just lots of effort put into that. There's a weird dance pose from the Orc Bat Troll. The bats are just ugly looking things, but that's how they're supposed to look, so it's on point. And I just love how much personality the troll has. Because when you actually see him in motion on the bat, he's just like having the time of his life. So, lots of personality there. The Orc Catapult, I think, is one of the better models in Reforged that actually symbolizes more graphics, more updated look to it, but still retains the original cartoony look and is very similar to the original in terms of its design too. Drekthar looks pretty incredible, to be honest. I really like this take on the Farseer model. There's Garthok. He's the guy that Rexxar has to get the mission from, because Garthok gets beaten at the start of the campaign and Rexxar has to take his sort of note to Thrall, I believe. Grunt looking like the forest trolls. Green here, somewhat pale. The colouring is not obviously finished, and the lighting and whatnot. I'm not really a fan of the beard, but I'm not that opposed against it either, because it gives them a bit of personality. The original grunts don't have beards, but I'm okay with it. It's obviously the look they want to go for, because they've got it all like on statues and models, so I don't think they're going to change that. There's a headhunter. Looks pretty cool, looks pretty agile, capable of sort of chucking those spears across with the strength but the same sort of speed that you would require to be sort of an agile troll. Next we have more orc units, in fact pretty much only orc units. Healing Ward. There's Grom, one of the most amazing looking characters. This is more what Rexxar should bloody look like. Look how freaking thick THICC Grom is here. There's a Blade Master. He looks so cool. I really like the armor. He's got a pierced nipple as well. But I think in game this distracts a little bit too much. I prefer to see more of his flesh and his shoulders to really put across the animation and display visually to the player that you're being attacked by a Blade Master. Because when you can see sort of like the flesh, you see more of the shoulder movement and swinging the sword down. I feel like this almost clutters it a bit too much. It looks cool, but I think it clutters. Farseer, I'm actually okay. A lot of people complained it's a bit too basic, but I prefer the model to be quite basic because the original Farseer is a very basic model. And you don't want to clutter things too much. It gets the point across. He's a simple type character. He's got more of a hood now than a weird cap, so that still works. Then we've got Shadowhunter with that kind of ridiculous weapon. Otherwise, I think he's got a bit too much going on as well with like the shoulder and the over-the-top back totem. He's not a Tauren after all, but I think that distracts and makes him look a bit too overwhelmed by his armor. Then you can actually sort of see the bluish skin. You need to see almost a bit more skin. There's a Tauren Chieftain that is looking strong, beefy. Does kind of look like a Tauren. It looks like a cross between a Tauren and one of those orange furbolgs. That's the Cairn one, isn't it? Or that's another model. I think that's the one that you get when you play the game. Although it looks more like Cairn's face. Very grizzled, very old. I'm not a huge fan of the face part of it. Like the teeth especially look too derpy. There's a very uncoloured Kodo beast right now. Not quite finished, obviously. They look quite funny though. They always look angry. There's Nazgrel. I love his wolf head. It's very realistic. Reminds me of the Wind Riders. More woofs. There's the Orc Warlock. Gul'dan. Still likes to show a bit of leg. Then we got the Orc Warlord, the one on the horse, and the peon, who looks very weird and toad-like. Like, I'm getting more and more used to this one, but I feel like their face is almost too toad-like. But there you go. Now, we move on. We've got some snack wards. I don't think I clicked on that one, so I'll just double-click that. Would I eat a Tauren hamburger? Probably. Now, that's a Wind Rider, but it's riderless. So this is one you would come across in the wild. It's got a very feral lion-style face. The originals are supposed to be based off it, but it's got like almost like a bigger face at the top, rather than sort of like a... They have more of a kind of thinner or wider face. But it's okay. Now, this is more of the original Shadowhunter action. Shoulder pads are still a little bit overly distracting, but you can see more of the skin, I feel, with this character. There you go. That's what I'm sort of... So if you can see like the top half, you can really see him swinging the sword around more. It's more emphasis on the damage of the sword than the actual armor at the top that's not really serving much of a purpose. Because he's an aggressive, offensive character. He's not a defensive character, so he shouldn't really be wearing that much armor. Sentry Ward. Snack. 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 And woofs. There's the Spirit Walker in a bit more detail than what we've seen in previous videos. Actually, I'm getting more behind the look at this one because it's looking way more tribalistic. The eyes are almost ghost-like, which is kind of fitting for the character. The feathers don't look as punk rock anymore. They look more Native American style, so more one with the nature. And the garments are very cool, and I like the sort of white fluffyish beard with the short braids. I think it works better, this picture of the model, as opposed to the previous ones we've seen. This is the Orc Shaman. You really can't go too far wrong with the Orc Shaman. It's just an amazing... Again, it's the furs. It's like, I like the winter furs and stuff like that. I think characters look amazing when they're wearing furs and sort of tusks around them, the bones, etc. It is an incredible model. It could easily be a hero, to be honest, this character. I always thought that from the very day one of Warcraft 3. The Shaman model was like one of my favorites. I was like, wow, look at this thing. It looks incredible. It's like way ahead of some of the others. That's a strange looking spirit wyvern. Oh, that's it. It's a spirit wyvern. Oh, wow, look at that. Stasis Totem has got a ton of personality. That's so comical. That's like really Warcraft style, that is. I like that. Yikes. That is that's standing out. You're not going to really miss that very easily. Don't forget to attack the Stasis Totem. Moving on to the Tauren now. It's a big old beefy log. Perhaps it's a little bit too wide, is maybe the only complaint. Just reduce it by like 10 to 15%. But really, it's not an issue. I actually think it looks quite good when it's in motion. I've seen some gameplay now, and I think the Tauren model looks pretty good overall. So not massive complaints. Thrall just looks really cool. I think the gold is maybe a little bit too bright. Maybe it needs to be brought down a little bit so the contrast isn't quite so heavy compared to the black. And you can just remove this whole horned helmet part of the wolf. Maybe you can keep like the side part and have that as like a helmet. But this actually detracts from Thrall, in my opinion. Because if the wolf looks as decorated as Thrall does, it doesn't make him look as special. Obviously, this model is absolutely incredible, this one. Really good. Really good. Much more simplistic, but has a lot of personality and depth and flavor to it. This is really cool, this one, because you don't have to go overboard. You just do a lot with a little. Alright, now that honestly looks like Doomhammer. Whether they're going to bring Doomhammer into the game of Warcraft 3, I don't know if that fits lore-wise. I mean, technically it does, but it's before when Warcraft 3 happened, isn't it? So, it's somewhat before, but perhaps maybe campaign-wise they might do it. But this honestly looks like a different face. It's pretty similar, but at the same time it still looks different. It could well be Doomhammer. Even though it says Thrall Mountless. Fulgin, it probably is just Thrall Mountless, but I'm just saying it's a possibility it could be Doomhammer. Witch Doctor, Raiders look really cool. Or Wolf Rider in this case, but they're Raiders basically. Look at the wolf, it's just vicious. The whole thing about him, he's got like netting around him as well. Super cool. It's like he kind of like gathers bits and bobs from his raids. So it fits in with the pillage theme. These wyverns are kind of distracting. I feel like their faces are way too big. I mean, in the original, this is kind of where the top of the head would be. And this is kind of where the bottom of the head would be. Whereas now it's like up here and down. It is freaking like that instead of that. It's way too big. But maybe that's just because that's the angle of the camera. Blood Fiends, they just look incredible. You can't really argue with those. Chaos Grunts looks a bit darker in tone, but I still need to be more of a blood red than a pale red. For me, personally. Because otherwise, they look too much like Warhammer models than they look like Warcraft models. Next, we take a look at some Succubi and some evil Eredar. The Chaos Warlocks look incredible. Very heavily armored. They're obviously like sort of battle mages to a degree. Very cool model, to be honest, that one. Very upgraded from the original. It's one of the cases where I actually prefer the new version to the original. Because the original one's a little derpy. There's the Orc Warlord on the human horse, but for some reason this human horse has evil eyes. So did he feed it some fel juice or something? I don't know. We got like a skull on top of the wolf. So this is a very scary looking wolf raider. And that weapon is just even more sort of crude and destructive. Demoness. Everyone likes the Succubi. Doomguard looks a little bit derpy, but he has got some of that width and power that the original has. Not quite as much. The original one is really massive, but that freaking hammer is... that is something else. Look at that weapon. I want that in Skyrim. There's a weapon like that probably in Skyrim, I think. This guy looks kind of cheeky. Like your old uncle or something like that. Who's practicing the evil arts. But you still like him. This guy is a slightly more powerful looking Eredar Warlock. Not finished though. And this guy has got a real Archimonde vibe going. So very powerful as well. Wow, how ripped are these dudes? This is kind of how ripped Rexxar should be. Like, look at those biceps and triceps. This is what Rexxar should freaking look like. Except these are more V-shaped. The original ones were quite V-shaped. So he's about as ripped as a freaking humanoid can get, to be quite frank. That's like steroids times 10. But I like the size of the muscles. I think that's what Rexxar should have. And Rexxar should also be even like wider. Not necessarily as V-shape as this guy, but definitely wider. And then you've got Rexxar. Ah, that weapon. They're so cool. And this guy's stretching. And that is the blood red look that I want to see. This is called a Chaos Blade Master, so perhaps that's why they want to differentiate between the Fel and the Chaos, but aren't they kind of supposed to be the same thing? Either way, this is more of the red colour that I want to see in the Fel Orcs than that pale red that they have. We've got like a very tall Infernal, some Pit Lords, more Succubi, Eridar, and an Arthas. So this is a really cool version of the Pit Lord. And I like this because it's actually... what I don't like is this is the hero Pit Lord. If this is the one you get from the tavern, it's cool because it's just unique. But it doesn't actually look like the Pit Lord, face-wise, at all. It's a completely different sort of face bone structure. It's a dragon Pit Lord, basically. It's a cross between a dragon and a Pit Lord. It looks really cool, though. The purple and everything. The weapon, the armor plates, the giant tusks. I actually like this model. It's just it actually doesn't have the same face. It's Spyro. Kind of is. It's evil Spyro. But can he level to 6? That's a very good question, Gallus. I don't think it's possible to get a Pit Lord to level 6. I don't think anyone's ever done it. Here's an Infernal. He looks... Actually... I'm just trying to think back to the World of Warcraft cinematic for like when the Infernal climbs a tower and then it just sort of roar, or it's behind the Warlock and he goes roar. Is this more reminiscent of that type of Infernal? I feel like the legs are just a little bit too long. That's the World of Warcraft Legion model. Maybe that's where I'm getting it from. Kill Jaden. Looking like he's got a bit more personality in the face, but doesn't quite have enough depth there. I want a bit more character around the eyes and stuff, just to sort of show that he is not just a generic Eridar that's gone wrong. Now that looks more like Manaroth to me. This is Magferidon. I think a lot of people have been sort of saying, are you sure Manaroth isn't Magferidon, or they got the models wrapped around? But we keep getting the screenshots and they keep saying like this is the Magferidon character and the other one's Manaroth. This guy looks a lot more like Manaroth. Not spot on, like, because Manaroth's more of a kind of a bluish grey. But he looks more symbolistic of what Manaroth represents, in my opinion. This is the Manaroth model that we get, though. Which... you could argue that is a bluish... it's like a bluish green. It is a bit more similar, kind of. I think it needs to be more grey. It's the teeth. Maybe if they just give him twice the amount of teeth, we might be able to buy that that's Manaroth a bit more, but I don't know. I know the crotch plate is Manaroth, so yes, this is the Manaroth model. Looks like Jabba the Hutt. Kind of. Yeah, it kind of does a bit. Light and shadow is missing, so keep that in mind. It says Sorax, that's a good point. But I've seen the model in the game as well, and it's not the same. Either it's not quite the same. This is a kind of cool, spiky looking version of the orc that rides the horse. I actually really like this model. This is a Dark Souls vibe. He's got this giant golden hammer, this white and gold sort of gut plate is what I think some of you guys have called it. Again, if you're watching this video and you haven't thumbs up the video at this point, please make sure to do that and subscribe, share. Patreon.com/wittywarcraft, another way to help support the channel. You can check out all of this stuff in the video description. Just click on the video description for more details. Wow. This is the Warlock model. Very similar to Archimonde. Almost as impressive as Archimonde, if not more. Is that not just Archimonde's model? He looks very commanding. I actually really quite like that one. And it's the same. Is that why then? Antonidas. There's Arthas. Maybe a little bit more evil Arthas? Nah, definitely more evil Arthas. Okay. Now, we are moving towards the last section of the video. So let's keep going. I knew this was going to take some time, but damn. Now this is like a Berserk elemental. Looks more genie-like. Oh, look at the color scheme on that. Incredible. Spellbreakers. The Blood Spell Thief is the original name for them. I like the look of it. I just wish it had more armor plating than cloth plating. Even though it's kind of a caster, I wish it stayed closer to the original. It has the same shield, it has the same weapon, it has the same sort of armor, sort of flair and design. But it's cloth. And the original looks better because it's like plates. Let's see if we can find a picture. Warcraft 3 Spellbreaker. Look at that. That does not look like cloth. That looks like armored plate. The whole thing is armored. It's only got like cloth as the drape that goes down from like the waist downwards. But this top part looks like armor. And then there's maybe like cloth underneath the armor. But it's still armor on the front. That to me looks far better than this does. This looks way too vulnerable. You wouldn't want to put him on the front line. One stab in the belly and he's dead. You try and stab that guy, it's not going to work. You need to stab him a few times. So this is the genie again. Look at the WoW armor, aka Blood Elf Heritage armor. Okay, 1 second. What? World of Warcraft Blood Elf Heritage armor. Oh, wow. You have to click the link so many times. There we go. Yeah, they look pretty cool. It's very reminiscent of the Divine Paladin look. Is it Divination? I can't think of the right word for it. But it's the tier 1 for Paladin, I think. In World of Warcraft, one of the coolest looking models ever. It's very similar in terms of the garb style. It's not identical, obviously, but there's similarities there I can spot. Anyway, before we go down a rabbit hole too far, we still got some bits left to do on this video. Now, this footman's looking pretty damn cool. I wasn't too sold on the footman. I felt like they looked too tall and skinny when I originally saw them. But I've managed to sort of, over the year, get used to them a bit more and actually get behind the footman model. And I think they look pretty cool now. Griffin Rider's really cool. Look how happy that Griffin looks. There's the gnome, looking very neat. I love the hairstyle and those over-the-top eyebrows. So the front of his turbine is actually, yeah, it's facing the front. When we saw a model of it, it was actually like a banshee. It was pointing upwards instead of forwards. So I wonder if that's when it's hovering, it might actually turn upwards. And when it starts moving again, it might actually turn forwards. A Gnome for Gnome. So there's a Blood Elf hero. Needs to look a bit wider, I think. There's Dagran, the Orc Slayer. Halak. Magroth. There's the Mountain King, looking beefier. So that's better. Perhaps a bit wider as well, if we could. You can just beef up those arms so they just stretch out more. I think a lot of people will be happy. And then there's our hero paladin that looks very much like Shane from The Walking Dead. Or also, I forgot his name now, but from Spider-Man 2. The news reporter, the editor, the guy's in charge. I'm sure someone will say it in chat in a moment. Okay, no one said it in chat. Alright, there's a hero paladin boss, but this is it Bazuk or Barok? Something like that. There's Edmund. This guy looks really cool. Nimble, fast, fighty warrior. There's Jaina, looking much better, much brighter. Just make those eyes a brighter blue/teal and perhaps pull the hood back a little bit more to just show even more blonde hair. You can see a bit there, but just show a bit more blonde hair. Give her a bit more blush. She's got a lot of blush, to be fair. Like, basically, what she's got at the moment is great. Just make it even brighter. There's Evil Jaina, aka Modern Jaina. Now that is a Blood Elf. That's Kael'thas. Look how wide, intimidating and powerful he looks. I'm doing alright, Nubbin. Doing okay. That is a knight who very much looks similar to Garithos as well. So this is a knight model. I don't think we've seen this one yet. Look at the armor on this dude. Much thicker as well, which gives him a more powerful look to the footman too. So the footman's got really cool looking over-the-top extravagant armor, but he still looks kind of thin. This knight looks, whilst the armor might not necessarily be as tall and necessarily extravagant, it's definitely thick and more powerful. And the leg plates are really awesome. That's a really cool model. And there it is without him. Which kind of looks weird now. It almost looks like he's missing a bit of his back. There's the militia. Looking a bit derpy. Probably not wanting to fight. Ragtag, ready to go. Leather armor. Mail helmet. Let's do this. There's a mortar team without the other mortar character. Is he hiding inside of the cannon? Ah, I see. Team B. He's smoking a pipe. Ah, there's Moradin. I think the face isn't quite accurate of Moradin. It looks like a dwarf, but it doesn't look like Moradin's face. It's hard to really sort of get this spot on, but I think faces is one of the things they've struggled the most with in terms of looks for Reforged, and this is probably just another case of it. It doesn't have the same cheeky vibe that Moradin's face has. There's a peasant. They always show their teeth. Oh, so that's the Phoenix model. So it's much more like a Dragon Hawk, in a way. Like a sort of Chinese dragon swan hawk type creature. Weird. Now we got the Phoenix egg, which you can see. So there are still some models we haven't spotted yet. That's cool looking. It's got a kind of molten look to it, but the design is really neat. Very colourful Easter egg. This guy looks really cool. It's a human priest. He's got like a very decorative armor, which might be a bit over the top, but because he's high elf, it's quite sort of pointy and elegant, much like they are. And his weapon's really unique. I kind of like that. It's kind of unusual. There's a rifleman. Very thick. There's the sorceress. Not as thick as she used to be, if you know what I mean. There's a captain. He is just a cool look between the footman and the knight. Judging by the armor, he's got a similar armor to the knight. So he's got a sort of like the power the knight does, but the extravagance of the footman and the helmet. Uther, just awesome character. There's the war wagon. Just cool, cool, cool. There's the rubbery water elemental. There's a spiky rubbery water elemental. Another one. And then the corrupted ancient of war. Geppetto. The corrupted moonwell. Tree of life. Let's see. Never ceases to wonder. I always feel like, I know this video is going to go long, but I'm going to try to be quick, but even then it still goes on. This demon gate looks just insane. Like, I am giving a big thumbs up to this. There's so much detail, so much colorization, but it works on so many levels. And this isn't even with like all the lighting and everything that's included. Look at the magma and just... the steps really get me. They're one of my favorite. You look at all the sort of over-the-top design, but funny enough, the steps are one of my favorite parts of this because of just... it feels so worn but real, and it's like sort of darker tones in some sections, and there's just that little bit of fire sort of seeping through like a wound. Really, really neat. Human altar. Very over the top, extravagant, but I do like it. I just want the stone on the top parts to be a bit brighter, even though obviously the whole model looks bright, but that's because of the lighting. Isley Drake, thank you very much there for the sub. He says, hello, back for today only. Alright, we better make it count then, eh? Arcane Vault, very skinny. The actual building, the original building's way wider. I guess they tried to stretch it out with these kind of pylons, but It still looks like an Arcane Vault. It's just a very different take on it. I'm sorry, Arcane Sanctum, because this is the Arcane Vault, and that is very reminiscent of the original one. The box itself is smaller though, which is probably a good thing, because the Warcraft 3 one is freaking massive. The size of that. Okay, cool blacksmith. So you got to bear in mind that the colours aren't quite. The lighting isn't quite correct in some of these pictures. Some stuff is given too much contrast. So this isn't a fair representation. But we're still getting looks at the models that we haven't seen from certain angles. There's the barracks. I just wanted kind of like a grill plating by the windows. And maybe sort of like a sword and a shield to represent that this is more of a military building. That looks awesome. Lumber mill. Really cool. That's the lighthouse. Well, it's not the lighthouse. It's the shipyard, sorry. But this is what you sort of see when you go to purchase a boat. Very, very neat looking building. Very cool. That's the Arcane Tower, I believe. Cannon Tower. And the Guard Tower. And then the tower that hasn't been upgraded yet. More human buildings into the neutral buildings, which we have seen. And orc buildings, so I'm going to be very quick here. There's the human castle. That looks pretty gorgeous, to be honest. Nice and thick. Lots of detail, different levels, different sort of parapets. It gives it some real height, some flavour. Love the clock on this. Always pointing 11:45. There's the workshop. Very beautiful colours here. You've actually got a bit of a waterfall effect coming out of the snacks. Coral bed. This guy looks like he's having the time of his life. He's having a good time just curling around. Water coming out. Ah, okay. Got more of a look at this snapdragon type creature coming out of the pool. There's the orc holding onto the chains. Bestiary. That is a fell orc burrow, because it looks very spiky for a burrow, but it's still burrowistic. There you go, istic. We've got the Great Hall Fortress. Folly card, thank you very much as well for the sub. It says can't wait for this to finally come out. Sooner than you think, I reckon. More orc buildings. Let's breeze through these, because I feel like the colours started to go a bit weird. Obviously, he's put the silver colour, which is one of my favourite colours, but it doesn't necessarily fit in with the background that we currently have. Reinforced burrow. No, that was a fell orc burrow. It said fell orc. This is a troll burrow, which is the actual name for it. But it's not really a troll burrow, it's an orc burrow. Some of these have the same name, like the Banshee Rider, I said, is the Dark Ranger now. Because when Blizzard first created this game, they obviously set a bunch of names, but some of those names have changed over time. So that said Troll Burrow, but really it's an Orc Burrow. Book of Summoning. I think this thing looks incredible. I've not actually seen this side of the book, so that's nice and spiky and thick. The pages, it just reminds me of Diablo. That's another pedestal. Bridge Obelisk. That's from like custom tower defense games. Centaur Tent. More Centaur Tents. Very cool. Gets the point across. That's the Draenei Hut, isn't it? It says Chieftain Hut, actually. It could be the... It feels more like a Draenei building though, because of the purple, so I'm not entirely sure. That's building large. So there's some human structures and villages. Dalaran Guard Tower. This is the Dark Portal. I don't know if this is truly symbolistic of the original Dark Portal. You've obviously got the snake at the front, the two guards on the side. But there's something about it that doesn't quite look like the original. But I'm not sort of like... I've not got like a photographic memory. I don't remember exactly identically. So I could be making it up. Draenei Barracks. Doesn't really look like much of a barracks, but then again, it's a temporary building, isn't it? It's not one that you really play as for much. We got some dragon roosts to look at. Thank you very much, Arthas BC, for the sub. He says hi. Hello. We got more Draenei stuff, so you can see the Draenei has like that purple within the buildings, so that's why I thought the other one was. I feel like this looks more like the Dragon Roost when it's from this angle. But when you look at it from the isometric angle, it looks a little bit strange. But there's like these little weird steps. I don't know if there should be steps going up to the Dragon Roost, because why would a dragon use steps unless they're in human form? Wouldn't it not make more sense that this rock sort of like forms the steps down? So you still got this spiky rock, but it just spreads out and then comes down with the steps. Otherwise, these are like handmade, and then this rock is formed from the earth. Then again, you've got these giant sort of wooden spears, which wouldn't have come from the earth. This one looks more... Ah, there you go. That's got like a rocky kind of staircase. That's what I meant. That's funny. It just basically displayed exactly what I was thinking. So that's what I was... Oh, okay, because that's the red one. Okay, sorry, I get it now. Because the orcs obviously tamed the red orc. Red dragon. Well, I say they tamed. They basically captured Queen Alexstrasza. So the red dragons were kind of forced to work for the orcs. So that's what that was. Now that makes sense. In hindsight. So okay, Blizzard. One step ahead of me. So this is to represent Outland, where the Nether Dragons are supposed to come from, because you've got like floating rocks here. Very crystal look. This guy's just a beast. So that's like the original one, still there. Bronze dragons look incredible in this game. Really, really incredible. Okay, got Draenei Haven, High Elven Farm, and then some High Elf buildings. Very cool structures. Obviously very similar to elves, although this one is an elfish village one. Almost there. More buildings. They haven't even all loaded yet. Oh, that's got lots of flavour to it. A little bit busy though. Kind of hard to see where necessarily everything is on first glance unless you stare at the picture hard enough. But those are forest troll huts. You typically destroy those a lot in the campaign. And they don't often drop anything, but you just kind of still destroy them. I really like the Fountain of Life. I think this looks very organic and sort of tranquil, which is really cool. Definitely works for me. The fruit stand from another angle so we can see more of this side of it. You could try some pumpkin if you wanted. That's just a really cool building. Little bonus building basically. I think we've got like Firbolg huts now, if I'm correct. Harpy nest. Oh, they are Firbolg huts. Yeah, because I saw like the log. Really cool. There's a Knoll hut. More like a kind of cage. Oh, we got another shipyard, but it's a goblin shipyard. So it's like a... It's an iron boat. There's the gold mine. Little lantern at the front. There's the granary. Grain warehouse. Granny that's infected. Harpy nest. It's spot on, really. I like how they actually kept truer to the original models with the buildings, which is why I think a lot of people are saying like the buildings look really good. Is because they actually sort of took the original Warcraft 3 models and just updated them. Whereas I feel like with a lot of the models, they got a bit carried away and tried to make them a bit too hyper-realistic and didn't stay as true to the original as they maybe should have done. Icy Crown Treasure Box. I don't remember that one so well. Ice Troll Hut. So there we go. We got some Murloc stands, some cigarettes. Mage Tower looks really cool. That's Magic Vault. So I don't remember that one so well, but that's a really cool look. We got Marketplace, which is very different to the original one, but at the same time I think gives off the vibe and looks different from the other neutral buildings, so it should work on the map. We got the Mercenary Camp, very different as well, but then still holds the similarities of the original with this kind of curved spike barricade on the outside, which has this kind of thatched hut look to it, which the original ones also looked similar to. That's a very bright and distracting merchant. I wonder if that's in like the Sunken Ruins temple template. Murloc huts. I like the starfish. There's a big fish. That is a big fish there. That's like a Nerubian cigarette. Oh, we got a pig. Which is accurate because the pig farm actually does have a pig model on the side of it. Not a lot of people know that, but then again, a lot of people know about the pig farm because it's such a small thing in the campaign. Power generator. I still can't really remember what this damn thing is for. It's obviously a campaign thing. I just don't remember using it. Sacrificial altar, skull of Gul'dan, basically. And there's the Seer's Den. I think that's like the Draenei Seer. Okay. So we're taking a look at that. Taking a look at that. We'll do the last lot now. And finish this up. Because it's been a very long video. So thank you very much everyone for staying tuned. We have the Tauren tent. I'm not sure how they fit in that. That looks like it could maybe hold them. Because it's a little bit higher. That's the tavern. Which looks a bit better from this angle. You can sort of see the brewing froth from the beer. The beer kennels outside. It's got this kind of cool, quirky architecture to it. Gives it a bit of a bouncy vibe. That's another tent. So these are like the bandit tents, I think. That's a tower defense for the boulders. So that's going to be similar to that Blood Elf bonus mission. Where you have the tower defense. Perhaps. That's an advanced. That's a cold one. Cold advanced. Death tower. So that's what those are going to look like. They do look different, actually. A little different. Not completely different, but... Energy one. So they got their own flair. So you could different. And there's a flame one. That looks like a flame one as well. Cool. That's a warp gate. That's a wyvern cage. And that's another wyvern cage, but wooden. Little padlock out there. And that is a wyvern cage. How many times do they need to cage these wyverns? There's a fourth one. Okay. That'll do it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. This has been the Warcraft 3 Reforged Models review. And I hope you have a good time. Make sure to thumbs up. And I'll see you in the next video. Because there's plenty more. Take care.